Hey there, Colonials. Welcome back to another edition of Quickly Colonial. You know, it's a weird time of year. We're at the latter part of May, almost to June, and that's the end parts of spring and just about ready to start the summertime. But here in Pennsylvania, it's documented through all of history. We have the weirdest weather here. So 2 days ago, it was 85 degrees. And today, whenever I left for work, it was 46. So, we went from t-shirts and shorts to today I wore a hoodie and I had to wear a tassel cap for my bald head. So I was on my way to work and I stopped at one of my favorite coffee houses to get a hot chocolate on the way to work. And I overheard a conversation that was going on in that coffee house. And it's interesting. We talk about pubs, we talk about taverns, we talk about public houses and things like that in colonial times of all these important things happening in there. This important person meets up with this important person, or this transaction goes over and this transaction goes over in the middle of a table in a public place. And that reminded me of just like our modern day. When Mrs. Colonial and I bought our first house, the owner of the house lived in a different city. And so we brought our attorney with us and we signed all the papers and did the closing in a McDonald's dining room. And the exact same thing was going on back then. And the exact same thing happens today. Here it was, I was in the middle of a coffee house and I overhear a conversation. And it was between an old man and he was talking over with an attorney there. They were going over his last will and testament and how he wanted to do this and do this and do this and dot your I's and cross all your T's. And he said, just leave it to him. The whole lock, stock, and barrel. Now, I was leaving, so I didn't get the rest of the conversation, but I recognized that phrase, lock, stock, and barrel. Where did it come from? What does it mean? It's an older phrase. You might have heard your grandparents say it. I know I heard my grandparents say it all the time. Oh yeah, just go and the full lock, stock, and barrel. But what does it mean? In the last 20 odd years or so, I really haven't heard it very often. But I remember my grandparents and even my parents saying that phrase. And it's been around for hundreds of years. And especially, it comes from our dear colonial times in colonial America. What does it mean, the lock, stock, and barrel? It means the whole thing. Give them everything. And that might be you, in the instance of this old man at the coffee shop this morning. He wants to leave all that he has to somebody. Give him the whole lock, stock, and barrel. That means everything, the whole part. What if you have a collection of something? Oh, well, I have my favorite paperclip collection, but I'm going to sell it. The whole lock, stock, and barrel. Paperclip collection. Anyway, lock, stock, and barrel. The lock and the stock and the barrel refers to flintlock firearms during our colonial time period. The lock is the hammer mechanism. We have our flint and our steel. And the hammer, once the trigger is pulled, boom, it hits the steel, causes a spark and goes down into the flash pan and ignites the powder. And if you turn that over, you see all the little internal parts, the mainspring and the sear. This little part right here on this leg, it has a spot right here and a spot right here. This is called the halfcock and this is called the full cock. And so the halfcock is basically like a colonial version of what we would call a safety on a firearm. 9 chances out of 10, if you have it on halfcock, even if you pull that trigger, it's not going to do anything. You have to have it pulled the whole way back to the full cock. So there's other words and phrases that they use in modern day, especially with gunsmiths, but this is your cock right here, the half cock and full cock. And we'll hear more about that later. But you have the lock mechanism or the lock. And the stock, the wooden receiver that everything goes in, right? That's the stock. And the barrel. So, whenever you put all the components together, you have the whole deal. You have everything together in order to use that. And you have the full lock, stock, and barrel. Everything that goes together that you can use, right? So you need all of those components, the full lock, stock, and barrel. In today's society, the people who sell these old firelocks, there are several companies like Traditions and Pedersoli, and they sell the whole thing together, the whole lock, stock, and barrel. But then if you go with some of the other companies like Kibler, you can buy all the components, but you have to buy the lock separately. So you don't get the full lock, stock, and barrel, right? You have to buy them all separately. So, where do we hear this? The earliest use of the phrase is from James Ray's A Complete History of the Jacobite Rebellion in 1752. And in there's the quote, he says, "And she found my Highland pistols, which were a piece of curious workmanship, the stock, lock, and barrel being of polished steel." So you hear that phrase, the whole thing, the stock, lock, and barrel. He changes the words around, but it's the same idea. And then we go the whole way. Now we're out of colonial times, just by a few years to 1803. And this is in Connecticut during the 4th of July celebrations. And this is the Connecticut Sentinel, their local newspaper. And in the town of Stratford, it said that 30 men were present, and they carried a huge keg of rum around the town and then drank toasts with full bumpers. Those are glasses filled to the brim. They drank full bumpers too, and then they would give toasts. The first toast was to the 4th of July, the birthday of our country, July 1776. The second one was to Jefferson, Payne, and Gallatin, and all the rest, so the founding fathers. And then on and on and on to the 6th toast. And it says, to patriotism, self-interest, the cock, lock, stock, and barrel. So you have all those components. Remember we talked about the half cock and the full cock inside the locking mechanism. So you have the cock, the lock, the stock, the barrel. You have the whole deal right there. After 13 toasts, the people stopped writing the toasts down. They stopped caring about what they were toasting about. They stopped writing them down, remarking that the party was overzealous, and they celebrated all night. So these guys, they made a party of it, July 4th, 1803 in Stratford, Connecticut. So there you have it, my dear colonials. Even to this day, in a coffee house, in a public house, in a tavern, in a pub, we hear the phrase, give them the whole lock, stock, and barrel. And it comes right back to our colonial times. My dear friends, thanks so much for coming along. If you've liked what you've seen, if you're new to the channel, if you've been here with us for a while, thank you so much for coming. Please give us a like and subscribe, and we'll come back right with you soon enough with some more wonderful stories to tell. My dear friends, cheers. We'll see you later.